localwebradio.fm, your trusted voices on the Semiahmoo Peninsula.
Welcome to the Mortgage NewsCast with Jared Dreyer, brought to you by Dreyer Group Mortgages. Now, here's your host.
Well, Erik Reynolds here again, and I am your host, and I'm back again with Jared Dreyer, accredited mortgage professional and president of Dreyer Group Mortgages, a proud member of the Verico Brokers Network. Now today, we'll be talking with Jared about the pre-qualification process and the importance of being pre-qualified when planning to purchase. Before Jared joins us, just as a reminder, if you have questions or require assistance, you need to talk to Jared and his team at Dreyer Group Mortgages, and you can reach them at 1-800-687-9020. Again, that's 1-800-687-9020. Well, Jared, great to be talking with you again today.
Erik, it's a pleasure to be talking with you as well.
So we're talking about pre-qualification process today, so let's jump right into it. And let me ask this, why should consumers be pre-qualified before they go house shopping?
Well, pre-qualified is, what it does, it allows you to know exactly what you can afford. And it's pretty essential that you find out before you go out and to purchase a home, sort of what price range that you're comfortable with. And what this allows, to get pre-qualified, and you want to get pre-qualified, which they actually do a credit check on you to make sure that your credit history is good and that you fit within the guidelines of the ratios. And it allows when you're out shopping, it allows the realtor to sort of look for a purchase price that's within your price range for you. And more importantly, what it can do is it can hold a mortgage interest rate for 90 to 120 days. Now, pre-qualified does not mean you are approved for financing. It just means that you have essentially the option to go out and make an offer subject to financing. And that's a key component. You need to make an offer subject to financing.
Now, Jared, what about the process? What's involved in the process for pre-approval?
We take the application, pull a credit check, review any initial documents to see what the borrower can afford. The lenders used to do the same, but now most have an automated system that provide a rate hold based on information submitted. So they're actually not reviewing any documentation. So that's very much the difference. And the key thing, again, as I said before, you want to make sure you're working with someone who is actually reviewing your documentation and doing a credit check.
Now, do most lenders provide pre-approval letters?
Absolutely. Most lenders do provide pre-approval letters, but essentially a pre-approval letter is just a rate hold. It just holds the mortgage interest rate. It is not actually a pre-qualification or really a pre-approval, and that's a key thing is you have to really, once you make an offer on something, it goes live is when they actually review the documentation. So it's a key factor that way.
Well, Jared, I have a few more questions, but let's go ahead and take our break here. So we'll be right back with accredited mortgage professional Jared Dreyer. And when we return, we're discussing more about becoming pre-qualified for a mortgage and getting a rate hold. We'll be right back.
The Mortgage NewsCast with Jared Dreyer will return after a quick word from our sponsors.
Take control of your financial future with sound investing with Byron Stryloff, Senior Investment Advisor and Chartered Financial Planner with over 30 years of experience on the Business Channel on localwebradio.fm.
If you're struggling with a dental or oral health issue, be sure to catch the Healthy Smiles Oral Health Show with Dr. Norm Ickard on the Health Channel on localwebradio.fm.
Buying or selling a home on the Semiahmoo Peninsula? Catch up on local market conditions on This Week in Real Estate with Lance and Connie Marples from Sutton West Coast Realty on localwebradio.fm. To schedule a face-to-face consultation, you can reach Lance and Connie at 604-538-8888. That's 604-538-8888. And visit them online at www.surreywhiterockhomes.com. Now, back to the Mortgage NewsCast with Jared Dreyer on localwebradio.fm.
All right, we're back with Jared Dreyer. Now, Jared, should potential borrowers get a rate hold?
For sure. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to get a rate hold. You can get it held for 120 days. Even if you don't buy anything in that time period, you can renew it again for another 120 days. So there's absolutely no reason not to do it. And it does give you the flexibility of knowing that you have something held, just in the off chance that rates do go up or change at any time.
Now, does having a pre-approval guarantee a mortgage approval?
Absolutely not, Eric. And as I mentioned in my earlier conversation, a pre-approval guarantee does not mean you're going to have a mortgage approval. All a pre-approval guarantee does is usually outline the rate and the conditions that can be filled. Everything is then subject to, once you make an offer subject to financing, everything will be done pre-approved for you. Again, is when you'll have to go through the entire process of qualifying, and that's when all the documentations are going to be approved.
Now, Jared, I had a situation where I was selling a home and had somebody pre-approved, but then they were denied the mortgage. Now, can you answer for myself and for the listeners why that would happen?
Well, there's definitely like 100 different turbulence ways that this can happen. And basically, the real estate transaction, there's multiple things that can go wrong during the transaction. But realistically, what it comes down to from experience is that the borrower has either had something wrong with their credit score, their income or job status was not stated as, or did not verify what was approved on their application. Potentially, they don't have enough down payment or from the right sources. It could be property related, meaning there's a poor inspection, the appraisal did not support the purchase price, and then there could be other issues depending on if they change interest rates or change terms and conditions are for qualifying.
Now, Jared, before we go, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, it's very important to make sure that your mortgage professional reviews your initial paperwork and identifies any gaps before it is submitted to the lender. Your mortgage approval team needs to stay in close contact with you and your real estate agent throughout the entire process, so that if there are any delays or issues, it can be resolved extremely quickly. Never remove your subject to financing until all your conditions have been satisfied, Eric.
Well, Jared, I've really enjoyed hearing your thoughts and advice on making this mortgage process easier by becoming pre-qualified. And I look forward to speaking with you next week. We'll be discussing owning a strata property and answering the most common questions about investing in this type of home. Now, for our listeners, if you know someone who owns a home and might have questions, would benefit from what we've talked about today, go ahead and share this podcast with them. You'll be doing them a favor. If you have mortgage questions or considering refinancing yourself, you've got to talk to Jared and his team at Dreyer Group Mortgages at 1-800-687-9020, or you can visit them online at www.dreyergroup.ca. Well, Jared, as always, thanks so much for talking with me today.
You're very welcome, Eric.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about Dreyer Group Mortgages, visit www.dreyergroup.ca. That's www.dreyergroup.ca. Or call 604-536-3802. That's 604-536-3802.
localwebradio.fm.
This episode is a production of Jam Media. For information on hosting your own web radio show, visit jammedia.com. That's www.jambmedia.com.
The opinions expressed by our guest and host on localwebradio.fm do not necessarily reflect the views of Jam Media or its owners. No expressed or implied opinions of any product or service should be considered an endorsement or recommendation of any kind by Jam Media or its owners.